So I will just start with an overview of the topics that we're going to look over together. The first of which are AI and autonomous agents, which are, as you well know, the hottest topics at the moment. We'll move on to financial management with some news on reporting and cost accounting, then followed by updates to supply chain management, as well as some much awaited e-commerce news. Then we'll close out with analytics and document updates that have been rolled out as well over the past few months. At the end, I will leave room for questions and some potential next steps. So if at any point during the session you have a question, please feel free to just drop it in the chat and we will get to them at the end, so you can do so throughout. Okay, wonderful. Let's get started. As I mentioned, we'll be starting at the heart of the updates, which are AI and the introduction of agents. So let's talk a little bit about how to concretely bring artificial intelligence into business processes, because the most frequent question we're getting from our customers is, where do we start and how? Our approach is based on a progressive implementation of AI, which we split into two primary phases. In phase one, we have assistant agents. You start here. The user asks and the agent answers in natural language using your company's real data. So no training is required or any consulting to begin. From day one, every person in your organization can start to interact with AI and explore its capabilities to facilitate their day-to-day tasks. We've developed four dedicated assistant agents, one for each business area. So we have finance, purchasing, sales, and inventory. These agents integrate with Business Central and Microsoft 365, always under human supervision and as requested. The goal is to deliver concrete results right away, with questions and answers on your data immediately and naturally. That moves us into phase two, autonomous agents. The same agents from phase one can evolve. The technology and tools don't change, only the way that they're triggered changes. In this phase, the agents don't wait for a prompt. They activate automatically in response to real events. This can be emails, schedules, or other Business Central events. They work like digital colleagues. They act autonomously, they report to the team, while a human supervises, approves, and learns from their processes. So we'll see the same agents. First they assist, then they act in a natural, gradual path that brings AI into real processes without disrupting your business. So let's get into the four assistant agents we've developed. Each assistant here specializes in one Business Central area with dedicated tools and its own domain language. The first of which is our accounting assistant. Here we're focusing on accounting, financial statements, and aging. It can give you the income statement, prepare reminders, or analyze upcoming deadlines. Then our second agent, the sales assistant, reviews customers, quotes, orders, and shipments. It monitors trends, flags risks, and can communicate directly with customers. Our third agent, the purchasing agent, is for vendors, purchase orders, and receipts. It sends reminders, compares performance, shares relevant updates in Teams. And lastly, we have our fourth agent, the inventory assistant, for items, stocks, and our various warehousing locations. It identifies stock risks, analyzes slow movers, and can export reports to Excel. These agents are designed to assist users in their daily work across the four main business areas. We'll see them in action shortly as I go through them one by one. So let's first take a look at our accounting agent in a bit more detail. The accounting assistant, dedicated to general ledger, financial statements, and aging reports, as I mentioned, can be prompted in a variety of ways. So today we're going to walk through some potential prompts with each one of the assistants that we've built. Here, the first prompt is, tell me the 5 customers with the highest overdue balance. The agent consults Business Central data, chart of accounts, ledger entries, customer aging, and gives you the answer in seconds. Then we have our second prompt. Draft a reminder email for the customers and send it. Here, the agent doesn't just read the data, it acts. It integrates with Outlook through WorkIQ and sends the messages directly to those customers that it identified. And our third prompt, compare April's income statement with March and tell me the most important changes. Here, an analysis that would normally take significant time is solved with a simple question. You ask the system to complete the relevant analytics for you. On the right side of the slide, you'll see the tools, that is, the data that the agent is able to see and analyze in Business Central, from the chart of accounts to trial balances, the income statement to the customers and vendors. And now we will get a chance to see a live demonstration. Wonderful. So as you can see, we're in Copilot in the version integrated with M365. Here we've asked for it to identify our customers with overdue. Now we can prepare an email for the first of those customers. We have a link to the draft, of course, but we can also tell our agent to just send the email immediately. And now we can see that in a couple of seconds, we have the identification of the customer and the email sent to the customer with a link to the sent email. So, quick and easy. Let's move on to the second agent, the sales assistant, dedicated to customers, quotes, orders, invoices, and shipments. Here too, as I mentioned, we will see a couple of prompts that we can use to get value out of our sales assistant. So the first one is, how does this month's new order activity compare to last month's? Here, the agent analyzes orders, invoices, and shipments in Business Central and gives you an instant picture of commercial performance. Then we move on to which orders are at risk due to insufficient inventory. It cross-references order data with item availability and flags those problems right away. And lastly, send the customer Acme a summary of open orders that will ship next month. Here, the agent prepares content, downloads PDF documents from Business Central, and sends everything via Outlook in just one step. And again, you can review the various data that the agent has access to on the right. Great. Here we'll prompt the agent to show the open orders of our vendor, Esselunga. Pardon, our customer. Here we'll ask for a summary of those upcoming shipments to that customer. And we can see that the data is compiled very quickly, as well as the agent proposing some potential insights or next steps that it could take on those shipments. Rather, we will send a summary email directly to the customer to inform them of what shipments to expect. And we can see that the agent has completed the task, and we can now click again on the link that it has to the Outlook email it sent for us. Again, we have significantly decreased the number of steps and the amount of time that it takes to complete daily tasks. Now for our third agent, the purchasing assistant, dedicated to vendors, purchase orders, receipts, and invoices, we will see a handful of prompts. So the first is, follow up with vendor Bianchi regarding all overdue orders and request a firm delivery date. The agent checks the status of the order, prepares the email, and sends it via Outlook. Second, we have share next week's expected arrivals in Teams. Here, there's the integration with Teams. So the agent gathers the data from the receipts and publishes it directly into the right channel that we've identified in the prompt. Third, which vendors had the most late deliveries in the last 3 months? An analysis on vendor performance that would normally take time and manual reports is solved with a simple question and helps you identify priorities to optimize the relationships with your vendors. So now we will see the orders of our vendor that are delayed. Great. We see these 2 vendor orders are identified. And we have, again, the recommended actions, but instead, we'll just ask the supplier to confirm the date because we don't know when to expect our delivery. And again, simply, we have now sent an email, identified an issue, and acted. Last but not least, we have our inventory assistant dedicated to item, stock entries, and locations. Our first prompt for our inventory agent will be, which items in Milan are below minimum stock levels? Here, the agent queries stock at the location identified in Business Central and gives you the critical list right away based on the parameters that we have configured in Business Central. Second, which items are slow moving and may not be worth reordering? Here, a slow mover analysis. The agent assesses the warehouse entries and helps you make more informed purchasing decisions moving forward. Still, a significant decrease in the standard amount of time that it would take to produce such an analysis. And lastly, export the table to Excel and share them in Teams in the purchasing channel. Again, we have the agent is able to generate an Excel file and publish it directly into a Teams channel, ready for your team to access and review the information. So let's take a look at our last agent in action. Here, in the same interface on Copilot, we'll ask regarding the stock requirements in Milan or the inventory at risk in Milan. Here we're asking the Copilot to create a table with the minimum stock compared to the current stock for each of the items that it's identified. We have a really easily viewable table here, and now we're going to ask it to share that table in our Teams chat so that everybody can take a look at potential risks in our inventory. And simply as that, you can, again, open the file directly from the chat so you know what's been sent and can take a look at it. Or alternatively, you can just await your colleagues' responses. So now we'll move on to the portion regarding financial management. The first update we'll share pertains to advanced reporting. As you may know, financial reports are tools that let you collect and aggregate general ledger data, enabling you to gain insights from financial movements and are vital to reaching and evaluating business decisions. Given the importance of reporting, Microsoft has invested with several new features. These include a new tile view for reports, new statuses and categories for reports that allow you to maintain an oversight on the report lifecycle from creation to publishing. We have the introduction of dimension perspectives that allow you to analyze financial data for some or all values of a dimension in a single report, and the availability of audit logs outlining who most recently used a report and when the report was last used. Lastly, a very helpful addition has been added that allows the scheduled sending of reports on a weekly or monthly basis. All of these features focus on increasing automation and strengthening oversight. So now I will proceed with showing you some of these in action as well. Okay, so we'll start with the changes to the interface and how we view reports. So in addition to the classic list view, there's now a newly developed tile view that is more compact. We can immediately see the categories, statuses, and a section to insert any internal description of the report's contents. Here, the new categories we see are pretty much there to filter reports for a faster overview. The statuses can define whether a particular report is blocked, and additionally now the system flags this block status when such a report is opened to whomever opened it. We can also edit how negative values appear in reports using minus or parentheses. Nice addition. And the most exciting addition, the introduction of dimension perspectives. So dimension perspectives let you produce reports with multiple dimensions or across multiple dimension values without having to select chosen dimensions each time, allowing for more repeatability and consistency in the analysis of your data. In this case, we've selected two values, which we can view in both PDF and Excel formats. Here in the PDF format, as we see, we have the total as well as the breakdown by the two dimensions included on separate pages. In the case of Excel's, the report is split into multiple sheets instead of across pages, and we can see the relevant dimension values as well that we've indicated with our dimension perspective. Finally, the two new features are audit logs to view who did what and when on your financial reports. We also have this column here that shows the last run of each report in reference for a quicker check. And then onto report scheduling, which lets you share reports on a recurring basis in whatever format you prefer to the designated recipients that you select, allowing for more oversight and the ability to choose the cadence at which you'd like to review your reports. The next interesting addition are the allocation accounts. We can create fixed or variable allocations. So allocation accounts are automatically distributing costs and revenue amounts across multiple dimensions, starting from sales or purchase documents or GL entries. A feature that lets you split the costs and revenues across different accounts as well as dimensions without creating multiple lines in the entries, thus expediting and improving cost accounting. Of course, before posting, users can still make additional one-off allocation adjustments, but the configuration allows for less manual steps and the implementation of more customized rules and ultimately more dynamic analytics. So let's see a short demo on how to create and use these allocation accounts. Here, we will start by creating a new allocation account. So we can create as many variations as we need based on our requirements, of course. We can have fixed or variable amounts and the ability to split by both amount and quantity. Here, we can select the GL accounts. And then additionally, we can select the dimensions to allocate to, and the system will split accordingly. In this case, we'll select two GL accounts, and we will identify a second dimension under that second line. And here you can see that there is a split by fixed percentages. Nice enough, we can actually test a certain amount to allocate before confirming. And then we'll see our allocation account in action that we've just created from the creation of a purchase invoice. And we will see after submitting the data, we can show that we select our allocation account. Wonderful. And when we insert the quantity and amount, on this single line, we will see that from the single line, the system will create many lines in the ledger, each with their own dimension and GL account in reference. So simply with the click or identification of the allocation account, we have the ability to significantly streamline recurring allocations by creating a repeatable and easy process and getting around having to manually allocate. Another new topic that's been added are features related to excise duties, such as taxes on alcohol and tobacco, now allowing for the management of these indirect taxes natively in BC. Lets you keep track of these taxes and ensure regulatory compliance. So for each excise duty, you can define the type and calculation criteria in order to automate the calculations. And the dedicated posting is, of course, separate from sales tax with their own periodic reports aligned to the relevant requirements. Now we're going to move on to additions made to the supply chain and e-commerce management. The first of which is a long-awaited feature that allows for the easy management of drop shipment, so direct sending from vendor to customer. Microsoft has introduced the ability to reverse the shipment as well if it hasn't been invoiced, so you can now edit and recreate shipments. Additionally, you can create purchase orders directly from your sales orders for dropship customers, allowing you to create a purchase order that is automatically populated with the end customer data, reducing the need for manual inputs, and ultimately preventing the risk of error by linking the two orders together. We will be able to see a demo of these functionalities as well now. So, the flow starts from the creation of a sales order where we can now submit our uh, information. And then once we've completed the lines and the quantities of items to be sold, we can toggle on this drop shipping flag, which lets us create the link to our purchase document. We can create the PO directly from the sales order. And once this is done, we can see that the shipping details will already be filled in with our customer information. So if we scroll down, we can see that the customer identified in the sales order is now linked in the purchase order. When the goods are shipped, the purchase receipt is posted. So here we will receive on the PO. We see the quantity received now is 5. And when we return to our sales order, we will see that the sales order has also been updated with the quantity of 5 that is shipped. So when the goods are shipped, the purchase receipt is posted, which at the same time also generates the shipment in reference. Now with this update though, we have the capability to reverse the shipment in case some information is wrong. So here we're updating the information that was incorrect and we can reship it from the sales order, which was not possible before. So then you proceed with the normal procedure for creating the sales invoice, where the shipment lines can be automatically retrieved before proceeding with the posting. So here we will get the shipment lines. And as easy as that, we have created the sales and purchase documents related to our drop shipment, as well as completed the invoicing procedure. Now we will briefly look at new feature related to purchase invoicing. So this is exciting. We can now link a single inventory line with multiple order lines. Pardon me. We can now link a single invoice line to multiple order lines. We have improved tracking from order to invoice visible in one place, and the ability to post the receipt of goods in a single step when the invoice is posted. These features again achieve greater flexibility and speed in postings and improved accuracy of invoicing. So let's see how these features work. As always, we will start at our PO, which we're creating here. We will select our vendor and input the information for the order. And now we can see the cost. And if we scroll down, we will toggle on receipt on invoice flag. So then we can proceed directly to creating the purchase invoice for our vendor, skipping any manual receipts that we typically would have done. We will pull the lines from the order and not from the receipt lines, of course, since we haven't completed any receipt. We'll select our order and input our document number. And as we can see, the system has posted the invoice, and in the process of doing so, as we'll see in a second, has completed the necessary steps for both processes, both the receipt and the invoice, all visible here in the matched order lines. If I now return to the PO, I can confirm that the quantity received has been updated right there. This is particularly useful for services where there is operationally no need to receive goods, so it's optimizing the number of steps necessary to take in the system. Now moving on to the matching of one invoice line to multiple order lines. Again, we will be starting at the creation of our PO, filling in the relevant fields, and creating, for this example, two separate lines for one quantity of the same item. So here we have one quantity of our sneaker. We'll select the same sneaker item and do a second quantity of this. We will just proceed with receiving the goods immediately here, selecting the quantity received and to receive and posting the order. Great. So now, as we saw, we have two of the same item on two separate lines, right? It's possible that my supplier will send an invoice that consolidates the two detailed lines into one as they were the same product. So when I go to create the purchase invoice referencing the document with my supplier, it will have only one single line of the sneakers at quantity 2. Then I can proceed with getting the lines, two different lines that now are linked to the one invoice line. So it's possible when I go to create the purchase invoice that I can connect both of the relevant receipt lines to the single invoice line. Now at the purchase order, we can see that those two lines that we had selected actually were consolidated into the one invoice line in the purchase invoice and are still tracked. Now we'll step over to the e-commerce portion of this section. Looking at an overview of the main news in the Shopify connector, focusing on what the changes are in daily operations from these new features. The update concerns primarily order and product management. For documents, the main news is regarding the currency. Orders can be managed in the currency chosen by the customer, so it is improving consistency, especially for foreign sales. Shipping processes have also been improved with more accurate management of quantities and the ability to manage buy X, pay Y discounts as well as kit products. For product management, it's become easier to enrich the e-commerce catalog thanks to changes to the management of variants and their associated images. Also, newly available is automation for developing collections, enabling items to be assigned based on various rules that can be selected by the user, simplifying the catalog and its organization. We also have the synchronization of descriptions and marketing content that's improved, making product sheets more complete. It's now also possible to synchronize costs as well as prices for a clear overview of margins. And finally, from the technical side, the integration has been updated to the latest version of the Shopify APIs, making it more robust and scalable. A very important piece of news concerns the expansion of the e-commerce connector portfolio with a new Magento connector that is now available. As with the other connectors, the goal here was to create a direct, smooth link that allows data and processes to be managed efficiently and, most importantly, automatically. Thanks to this connector, you can now synchronize your most important data between the two systems, such as products, customers, orders, and warehouse availability. Here too, as with other connector synchronization, now we will step over to the e-commerce portion of this section. Looking at an overview of the main news in the Shopify connector, we'll be focusing primarily on what has changed in daily operations. The updates concern primarily the order and product management. For documents, the main news is regarding currency. Orders can now be managed in the currency chosen by the customer, which improves the consistency, especially for foreign sales. Shipping processes have also been improved with more accurate management of quantities, and the ability to manage buy X, pay Y discounts is now available, as well as the management of kit products. For product management, it's become easier to enrich the e-commerce catalog thanks to changes to the management of variants and their associated images. Also, newly available is the automations for developing collections. So this enables items to be assigned on various based on various rules that can be selected by the user. This simplifies the catalog itself and its organization. And lastly, we have the synchronization of descriptions and marketing content, which also has improved, making product sheets more complete. It's now possible to synchronize costs as well as prices for a clear overview of margins in Shopify. And from the technical side, the integration has been updated to the latest version of the Shopify APIs, making it more robust and scalable. A very important piece of news concerns the expansion of the e-commerce connector portfolio, now with the new connector to Magento being available. As with the other connectors, the goal here is to create a direct, smooth link that allows data and processes to be managed efficiently and, most importantly, automatically. Thanks to this connector, you can synchronize the most important data between the two systems, such as products, customers, orders, and warehouse availability. Here too, as with other connectors, synchronization is bilateral, so data can be exchanged in both directions, to and from Magenta and Business Central. From an operational standpoint, the integration has been designed to be simple. Initial setup is guided by a wizard, while day-to-day management is supported by a dedicated, intuitive interface. Specifically, the connector allows you to import products and customers, automatically create sales orders in Business Central from e-commerce orders, update orders in case of changes, synchronize warehouse stock, and manage shipments. Let's now move to the main news introduced on the document and report management tools in Business Central, in particular for Word and Excel. I'll start with the key objective. All this news shares the common goal of making the system easier to use and more aligned with the daily needs of the people who work in the system. Let's start with Word. Improvements have been made to the Word integration for creating and editing print layouts. The experience has been made more intuitive, and thanks to clearer navigation, it's also become easier to find your way around the information. A search bar has been introduced along with the ability to see detailed information on the fields you're using. And on top of that, a tool called Table Builder has been introduced, which lets you create tables in a more guided way. A very important aspect also concerns document control. There's now the ability of a true there's now the availability of a true layout lifecycle. So you can have documents in draft, in approval, approved, or retired. This means users only use already validated documents, avoiding errors from the use of outdated versions. Moving on to Excel and reports, here too, the starting point was listening to users. Among the main news is the updates to sales reports where subtotals have been added and pivot tables. In addition, work has been done on performance. So some financial reports, such as the trial balance, have been optimized to generate faster than before. And we'll take a quick little look at these features in action again. So the starting point is very clear, right? Microsoft wants to make the layout creation accessible, not only to developers, but also to business users. So the people who work and use that system every day. And to achieve this goal, there's been a major investment in the Word add-in specifically. Today, the user experience is much simpler and more intuitive, as you can see here. The data selector has been improved, and a search bar has been introduced. So the search bar lets you quickly find fields, labels, and information within the report without having to look for them manually. This is a great help, especially for those who don't know the data structure in depth. So we also, as you can see on this page, have some visual improvements. So a supportive dark mode, which makes us more comfortable. And again, with simplification on the mind, we have this new feature called Table Builder, which has been introduced. This tool lets you create tables in a guided way, so the user can choose the data source, define the columns, and decide whether to include headers, or totals. The system automatically takes care of building the table and handling the dynamic data. In just a few clicks in a guided way, we have created our table now. Wonderful. Another important topic is as it concerns to layout governance. We won't see it in this video, but we have now the ability to have control over which document versions can actually be used. This lets administrators have full control and prevents incomplete or outdated layouts from being used. And finally, a very useful feature that has been introduced for those who work with international customers is the ability to set a default language at the company level. Until now, if no language is indicated on the customer card, the system uses the operator's language. Now instead, you can define a default company language, which is used automatically when no specific indication is present. Regarding data analysis, this release introduces important features in the advanced analysis mode. As you well know, advanced analysis mode is one of the most appreciated features in Business Central and the most used. I'll start with a key point. This is why the importance of this feature is why Microsoft decided to invest heavily in it with the goal of making data analysis more accessible, contextual, and secure for end users. This feature has been developed in a variety of ways. On one hand, we have improved user experience, so it's now possible to add descriptions to analysis views visible with a mouse hover, a simple but very useful detail, especially for less frequent users. We have an out-of-the-box analysis. Starting with this release, Microsoft introduces new built-in analysis views in several key areas to provide immediate insights. And the main areas that are included there are sales. So we have views on sales orders, finance, general ledger and fixed asset entries, inventory, views on inventory item entries, purchasing, we have item entries as well. And for security and auditing, we have the change logs and user lists. These will become available over the coming months with new releases. On this slide, we can actually see very quickly how custom descriptions can be viewed from our analysis view, allowing you to be certain of what you're viewing. When hovering over the title of the view, we see the pop-up for the description that's been inputted. So, Business Central as a data-driven platform. Today, data is fundamental for business decisions. It's not enough to collect it, you have to know how to interpret it to drive the business forward. For this reason, as we said, Business Central is evolving into an increasingly data-oriented platform with analytics built into daily processes. A key role in all of this is the integration with Power BI, which lets you access advanced analytics tools directly inside Business Central, so users can work on data without having to switch environments. Among the news here are new reports on customer management. The customer retention overview, which offers a view of the customer base, new, recurring, and lost customers, as well as the customer retention history, which shows the evolution of those KPIs over time. The ABC analysis has also been extended to sales, classifying products by their importance. Category A, the most important with the highest rotation. Category B, the intermediate ones. And category C, the least relevant. Finally, the reports for subscriptions and recurring revenue have been updated and improved. We have clearer charts, simplified navigation, and direct access to transactions, together with improvements on revenue, churn, forecasts, and contract value. And we will get to take a look at and explore the reports in a little bit more detail. So, this update involved a complete restructuring of the app dedicated to subscription billing. It ensures the visual consistency with the other 8 Business Central Power BI apps. Among the main news, we have the introduction of maps for geographic data, and most importantly, better profitability analysis. About 15 report pages have been updated and completely redesigned. The release introduces specific chart types to analyze financial and contractual performance more effectively. Among the reports, we see subscription billing overview, a general view of business KPIs, specific reports on revenue year over year, comparisons, changes over time, customer profitability, also by geographic area, profitability of my sales agents. We now have customer churn rate analysis, analysis of contracts growth of their value over time, analysis by subscriptions, forecasts, and finally the billing schedule here in front of us, i.e. what I have planned for billing for the coming period. As you can see here on this demo, all of the graphics are interactive and can also be filtered using the column that we just saw on the right-hand side of the page. Our final topic of the day will be sustainability. In recent updates, Microsoft has introduced more complete tools to manage environmental data, responding to both customer needs and, in some cases, to regulations. Today, it is easier to collect data on emissions, water, and waste, also integrating external sources and using Copilot to estimate data that is missing, monitoring targets, integrating reports, and in Europe, the implementation of CSRD compliance. This allows for increased stakeholder transparency toward customers and stakeholders, increased transparency towards customers and stakeholders, for example, by including information on environmental impact in documents. We can see from this on the previous slides that Microsoft has included various highly demanded features and improvements in this new rollout. So here I will take a moment to see if anybody has any questions. I will let you leave the questions in the chat, and I will just, while I'm waiting, take a brief second to review what the possible next steps are and who to contact. So, as we've seen, there's a lot of news and features to explore. You will find the updates explained in further detail in our user guide, which, as you know, is continuously updated. As for SoSmart customers, environments will be updated in the coming days. As usual, you will be informed via email before and after the updates are made. And for more advanced features, if you're already a customer, we invite you to write to our support email so you can provide more information. So we can provide more information and offer a dedicated session to you and your team. For those who aren't yet customers and would like to learn more about our solution, you can write to our email shown on the next screen here at the bottom. So we're doing quite well on time. I will leave a few moments for any remaining questions to be submitted. I can let the questions roll in. In the meantime, I can check the chat. I see that there's one question there. What additional licensing do we need to use the agents shown? Okay, good question. So in order to utilize the agents that we reviewed in the webinar, you're going to have to purchase a Copilot license. So the license allows for Copilot to integrate with Microsoft 365, access your business data within Business Central. The Copilot version that you may already be familiar with, without a license, only has the functionality to search online sources, so it lacks the most valuable capability of accessing your live data. If you'd like a little bit more information on pricing and how to purchase, you can also feel free to send an email to support or sales, and both can provide more information about that licensing. I don't see any other questions, but I'll give it another minute. I'll take this moment to remind you all to follow us on our various socials to always stay up to date, and that the recording of this webinar will be available after the session for view on our YouTube channel as well. I'm just going to give it a couple more seconds here. I don't see any more questions coming in. Please take a last second if you have any. Okay. Since I'm not seeing any other questions, I'll just finish by saying thank you all for the time, and we look forward to hearing how these features improve your existing processes. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thanks again.